What's going on, Fortnite fam? Zeke here. Today we'll be hanging out with ShyWager as we break down a VOD review. We're taking a look at a Victory Royale out of the OCE region. This was Link, Worthy, and Goobaz' 17 elimination Victory Royale. Let's dive in and see what went down.
Hey guys, ShyWager here. We're going to be breaking down OCE's top team, the record-setting Worthy, Goobaz, and Link. Their big 17 elim win that's going to be going down here. Zeke, what are your thoughts about it?
Man, dude, these guys just... the lobby this weekend was theirs. I mean, 8 games played, 6 Victory Royales, all of them double digits. These guys were nuts. So I feel like it's only makes sense that we hop into one of their games.
Yes, sir. That one of the biggest, strongest spots in the game, too, claiming it throughout multiple games this past weekend on week 3 of the FNCS Retail Row, which has so many launches, zombies for shields, and just the honest floor loot that's also there beforehand. So like, it's just such a dope setup. They've had every single game going in, and this is the game they make it work the best out of any possible game that actually existed for these guys, winning 6 out of their 8 games in week 3.
Yeah, and I mean, they're only contested by the one team, which is a little shocking because a lot of teams tend to rotate through retail after the fact, try and like look and pick up eliminations if possible, because you know, anyone that lands here, they're just sitting there hoarding all this loot. And so when you go to leave, it's like if you're waiting for those people to leave and you can get the jump on them, you can pick up and transfer all that loot into your hands. But right now they've only got the one team on the far side. And I mean, they're already going to work, right? Picking up the Q Fiends, destroying these pylons here, trying to get the loot from that. I mean, it's a pretty strong start. I don't know, man. So, like, if you're going to land and contest someone in retail, do you think, like, the best thing to do is just say, I'm just going to push these guys the moment I land?
Yeah, so when these guys are actually dropping in retail, it's always been the same season to season. Even when it was Mega Mall at one point, it's always a residential side that they're landing on versus the blacktops near the eastern/northern hemisphere of Retail Row. Landing on this side does get you in a little bit more of a position to get third-partied by other people coming in from other drops or blacktops, because obviously they have a height advantage in the actual drop. But the big main thing about drop spots in these types of show tournaments and these multi-stage tournaments is quarters, semis, and finals kind of influences more so who actually is at your drop and who feels confident in coming there over multiple games versus how the drop's actually broken down. So if you actually think about it from that perspective, these guys just owning game to game to game and the whole server seeing that, usually at the finals level, you actually know exactly who drops where, knowing they drop retail. It just makes it so that people don't even want to fight them. That's probably why we only see one team at this drop spot right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, you kind of realize pretty quickly, like, hey, these guys have made it through. They're definitely going to retail. We probably don't want to contest them. If we look at that leaderboard, we see these guys at the top. 6 at that time, it's probably, you know, however many games they played, however many Victory Royales at that moment, they're probably like, you know what? This ain't it. This is not the look. We're just going to go elsewhere to try and find loot and find potential pickups and eliminations. But right off the bat, I like that they're already starting to corner this other enemy team, right? You know, look at the lower half of your minimap here. The way these guys are kind of setting this up, you've got one person that is kind of spearheading. That's Link. He's right at the front. He's got him locked down in this little retail shop. You've got the far north player, who I believe is Worthy, and then down here on the south side, you've got Goobaz, who they're just like, I mean, they're just going for the pincer attack, man. I
mean, they are going for the pincer attack, but as I said earlier, with the way the drop works, the third party, we're gonna see some dope support gameplay from Goobaz back here as Link is up top. The zombies kind of work against you if you're trying to push blacktop, so you're always on a time limit. Obviously, Link's kind of extended the height hemisphere, the total space this fight is actually going on, so they don't actually get affected on the low ground by any cube monsters at all. So we'll be seeing easy type of classic style gameplay where you're not actually interrupted by the change up of what this drop is, and then spaced out, always switching up on higher ground. So it'll always be an advantage, or it'll be the pace that the residential people who landed want to take the fight in. But the blacktops, they'll just kind of be on defense the whole time, have a little bit of an advantage to push people back.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, right there, you saw Goobaz eat a massive rocket there. He got chipped down. But you kind of touched on it earlier, that support play. Just Goobaz is trying to create pressure wherever he can. You saw someone trying to disengage. You see another one here. Great headshot. Just these shots are so hard to hit, you know. I mean, but when you're a laser beam like Goobaz, Link, and Worthy, you're basically just a walking laser beam. These are shots that you're gonna pick up no problem. And this means that there's one person left because they've picked up everyone else. And what's cool too is that loot transfer I talked about earlier. Now this is theirs. Look at that. They get to just the nourishment that comes from this, the proximity launcher. You've got the splashes. You've got that combat. Now they'll have materials as well. The ammo's still looking a little sparse, but listen, that's what these cube fiends are here for. You sit there, you farm up the materials, the ammo, and potential weapon drops from them, you're good to go.
They've got zone, now they've got momentum as well, and confidence, because they've won one of the hardest drops to win in the game. There's so much that goes on in a fight. There's multiple parties involved in it as well. So now it's all about getting mats up, which is one of the biggest things in this drop actually that people miss out on. So we'll be seeing a little bit of a focus on that. Still such low ammo on Worthy here, but you know, the mats are the important part right now. The ammo can always get picked up. The loot can always get picked up as you're leaving. Want to make sure you're focusing on the things that matter. Priorities are straight when you're actually in that competitive scrim atmosphere.
And I like here that they're basically maximizing the potential loot they have, right? Because they could go around, destroy the pillars, and then kind of farm that loot right away, but they're just waiting, right? They're just saying, let the cube fiends continue to pour out. They're going to continue bringing us materials, resources that we need that are vital to our game right now. And look at this, they just walk around farming those materials that you talked about earlier, right? Like completely uncontested. In fact, they're so confident. They're out in the open, just sitting on top of the car farming. Like, in most situations, you're not doing things like that, right? You're definitely farming very safely, but these guys, they know they've won, and they know they're uncontested. They're like, look, let's just play this at our speed, and right now it's very fast, and that's going to end up paying out for them later on.
Yep, and like it's paying out in the moment as well, because the longer they kind of just stay and eliminate these one-off cube monsters over and over again, the lower health these pylons actually get to, because more will keep spawning. So yeah, now they're on that full, you know, grind mode of actually getting all these monsters down, getting the loot from these pylons. But the whole drop so far, oh my god, the overwhelming amount of zombies, holy moly! It's still been, you know, it's being chipped at the whole time they're looting as well. So that's a very cool strat and smart type of timing thing. Just it's all efficiency, right? It's the smaller things help out all the way till the very end. The one mat you save here or there could be the one you have to use end game to win, so it's very good time management for the drop as well.
Yeah, and don't forget you also get like a little bit of shield every time you eliminate one of those cube monsters. So, I mean, even though like we saw where they kind of get overwhelmed there for a moment, it's okay, right? You just kind of sit there, and it's just, again, just kind of building that lead. You know, that's kind of what's going to propel these guys into that victory out in the late game. But just this, like, if people are watching and they want to level up their gameplay, this trio cannot be ignored, right? Like, this is a perfect example of how to use and manage your time early on in right before mid-game, you know? Maximizing the efficiency of what you have in your inventory, maximizing how aggressive you're getting and what you're getting back when you go in and eliminate an enemy team. And then on top of that, here in retail specifically, you know, you've got these cube monsters, so you'll be able to farm up a little bit more loot. This is kind of like that one-off area that you can do this, right? I mean, look at this. More gold ARs. That's 2 on the team so far. There was even the gold infantry that the enemy team dropped when they eliminated them. So, you know, these guys, the world is their oyster right now.
Exactly. Like the world is their oyster, and the oyster that they're in right now is literally just full of pearls, win conditions, and anything they can just kind of pick and choose from themselves. You alluded to it earlier, where, you know, the entire enemy team at Blacktops, the western part or eastern part of retail, they themselves, like, specifically had so many things that they looted, and now everything's fine for them. So it's you know, they picked up on all that loot, and now these guys are going to be just efficiently on this big fast train moving towards the mid-game portion of this game.
Yeah, and I mean, like, they're ready to go, right? We take a look at just where these materials, he's almost capped on wood, capped on metal there. Still a little bit more brick to be farmed there, but all in all, 2 launch pads, the campfire, 6 splashes, the proximity there to put damage out on enemy teams at range whenever they kind of need that. Gold ARs. Now, again, the ammo is kind of that trade-off, right? Like, you'd expect at this point to be walking out with way more ammunition, but when you're sitting there have to eliminate these cube monsters over and over and over, there is going to be kind of that trade-off, right? So, luckily for these guys, again, just managing the resources very well. they're not going to run out of ammo, right? They're going to put themselves in situations where they know they can find eliminations, find enemy teams. To do so, let's skip forward in time a little bit, right? We're going to hop forward into Storm Circle 3. The Storm Circle is moving, and they have positioned themselves on top of Pressure Plant. Now, talk to me about why this was so pivotal for them.
Well, as you can see, they did do a little bit of looting. We skipped forward just a bit to see the kind of impact spots you want to be in. It was just a standard northern rotation with a little bit of lootage done in loot boxes. Not many fights were missed at all. But being in this spot on Pressure Plant, being elevated as well especially, and as north as you can get on the map, gives you a lot of efficiency and actually just moving by default around the map itself. Sounds kind of advanced, but it basically goes that, or the basic breakdown is, the higher elevated you are, the more you kind of just have to walk down around places, the more you have angles, just like Worthy did on GUI over here, where you kind of just nonchalantly just see a lot of things that go on around you. When you want to react to something or move, you cover more ground by dropping vertical layers rather than losing time by moving up them. So it's very important to be at a top spot like this, have an overarching view on everyone else, and have options laid out for you. You can see exactly where builds are. If you flip this and get Worthy, you know, based up exactly where he's looking right now for pressure, you can't really see, as you see on the bottom right side of the map, all the trios based up behind you, right? You can't really react to zone as it moves. You don't have the 360-degree pressure. You'll see these guys utilizing it in this big base. It's a 4x4, 3 people, and they're just going to be exploiting as many angles as they can and getting pressure wherever they can find it.
And they do have that bead there on the enemy team, but unfortunately they sealed themselves off, so proximity launcher is not going to find anything. But again, man, just look at these lasers. Worthy is, I mean, in all sense of the word, he is worthy of the title. And that's how these guys, I mean, they picked up this massive, you know, win here this last weekend in the FNCS. But just breaking down kind of what they're doing, this is the kind of the stuff that if you're new to Fortnite or new to Fortnite competitive, or even if you're just looking to level up your game, watch these guys, go back, watch these replays, watch how they're moving. You know, I like to attribute a lot of things to confidence. That's kind of like my one big thing, is you can just kind of tell the way they move, right? Like a lot of times when you engage someone or a situation and you kind of second guess yourself, or you think, will this work out for me? It doesn't, because you've already doubted yourself and you've already lost the moment that you doubt yourself, right? With Link, Worthy, and Gubaz, there's almost never any of that. You know, they're so confident in their abilities. I mean, okay, Link, I'm trying to make a point here. Stop showing off. But, you know, a lot of it is just confidence. I mean, this is why we pick these VODs, right, Shy? Yeah. I mean, we just watch the legends work, and all that confidence just pouring out of them, that is what's attributing to a lot of their play. And a lot of these shots that are just absolutely absurd.
Yeah, like everyone always roasts people who go retail. They're like, they have it easy. But it's just because you have the $1 million check doesn't mean you don't have to actually go to the bank to cash it in. Yeah, you know, you're looking at Link's loadout. It's golden, purple. Like he's got a launch pad. He's got health sitting on the side. But actually capitalizing on this for the points, like these guys can easily just sit in this box, do nothing, maybe just get storms tags, and then, you know, never actually have an influence on the entire map. But we've been seeing, I think, Gubaz or Worthy actually, who had the proximity launcher, raining pressure on anyone close by, kind of giving them space and saying, hey, if you peek us, you're going to have a potential of 70 damage straight to the head or the body, right? It gives Link that opportunity to go for those wide angles. You know, one thing leads to another. You're using your entire loadout across the whole trio to kind of capitalize and get points in places you shouldn't really be getting it, but you're making that room for yourself.
And that's just strong team synergy, right? Like knowing kind of where to cover and where to kind of create opportunities for you and your team. Because like that's a great point, right? Link is kind of, I don't want to say the hard carry, because these guys together are, you know, they are the triad. They are all incredible. But when you're creating space for someone like Link, you can really capitalize on that pressure and put to use that kind of window you've created for him, whether that be eliminations, more pressure. I mean, we saw him rip players out of the sky with his infantry rifle. So, like, again, there's just how these guys work together, what they're kind of doing for each other, lifting each other up as a whole, and kind of cover each other's blind spots or even weaknesses. you know, it's hard to be like, oh yeah, they're not doing this well or they're not doing that well. It's like, no, someone on the team is kind of helping propel and cover that for them. So these guys look on the outside really, really strong.
No, that's a really good take, because there's sometimes you might think that it's something bad that's going on, but right here, right, like Gubos kind of tarps out by himself with Worthy at the back just for support, while Link stays up top and kind of influences the server to move and react to their position a certain way. So you saw them have that lower peak edit initially before that tarp out, where they could easily beam anyone else who's kind of reacting to where Link was, maybe not covering a lower angle, but instead he makes the call to kind of move out. People are kind of launch padding away based off Link's shots, makes it a lot easier for Gubos to hit those shots simultaneously while Link is beaming as well. So yes, sometimes you have that Slayer role. You can utilize him not only just for getting the carry or the carry element on all eliminations, but his positioning and his kind of influence on the whole server on making your own plays and doing a support play that might not just be shooting at a wall and making pressure for your team.
And that's a good point, right? Because if you force other people to play your game, you kind of know where the mistakes will be before they happen, right? And you know where the angles of fire are going to be before they happen. So that's a really cool point to make there, especially with someone like Link, when it's like, okay, this guy's being really brave and tarping out. Like, should we take shots? Funny enough, no one did.
Yep.
Absolutely no one did, because no one wanted to challenge them. Like, these guys are insane. Now, this is something you specifically wanted to talk about in the VOD review, so I'm going to let you break this down.
Yeah, so right here, these guys have that, you know, typical launch pad off of the 5th circle to kind of get as much efficiency as possible. It looks like Worthy actually hits his launch out first, but they kind of get split off. Link has to use another launch to get to where he wants to go, but now it's kind of shambles. Usually when you do hit a launch as a trio, it's all about making space for yourself, staying together, and being efficient. Gubos actually falls all the way down and has to tarp in by himself, taking damage. He never gets to actually hit the launch. So then these guys do something that a lot of top tier trios are doing now. They don't just play their own life or try to go for, you know, you see up in the sky, there's so many people. Link could have landed early, done his own thing with Worthy, and then let Gubos come up by himself. But instead, these guys double back. Link's sure, instead of going for height immediately, he has platforms for his teams to land on, a good space. Then they work at the whole server together. It's all about getting those positioning points with you and your team first, making sure everyone's alive, then capitalizing on every single elim that's available around you. So right here now, we'll see Link doing a standard thing on height. This is one thing I also wanted to break down with him, is everyone kind of has their own flair. Yeah, he went for height solo, but then he pulls moves off like this. Aerial infantry rifles while falling with a shockwave nade, right? Like, yeah, you're a carry, yeah, you're a Slayer, but at the same time, if you have your own identity as a player, you can pull off moves no one else sees while keeping your team alive, while being the person on point and getting angles split off from your trio, no matter what's going on around you.
And even that's applying an amount of pressure, right? Like, because that player could have very easily said, oh, there's someone here by himself. But when you're flying through the air and double infantry rifle someone to the body, and they suddenly are like recoiling off all the damage they've taken, they're not going to challenge you. They're not going to even try, because they're like, oh my gosh, this guy is he's a maniac. Like, how is he landing these shots? We can't push this guy. That's not going to happen. And that's going to be like kind of more what we see throughout the rest of the gameplay here, is these guys just telling the entire lobby, look, this is now our game. You're going to play the way we want you to play. Good luck, everybody else.
Yep, and then they're going to be going right into their roles, Worthy kind of being the overlord of the entire server, making sure that no matter what, they will always have an eye on height. We got Link here, who just, once again, you know, the flare goes him by himself, confidence, still has an infantry rifle, but instead of using shockwave nades as a win condition to kind of get off anyone else on height later on, he just uses them so liberally to just split off with his team and get back together, putting pressure where these guys literally have no business putting any pressure. There's no reason the Ultimate Height squad should have an individual who has more than 1,000 mats on low ground or mid ground at all. Like, that play rate, just peeking two people nonchalantly, like, it's just, you know, you talked about it earlier, Zeke, the confidence, just, it's exuding. Like, it's flary, next level plays that you won't see from anyone else.
Link is just like that guy that is always styling on you no matter what, like, right? Just the way he's moving, so much confidence. And the thing is too, is he's gonna beam you every single time, right? He dropped that first guy, landed the second shot, and said, look, you know what, that's it for me. He could have very easily decided to go full on aggressive because he got the first knock. Instead, he's like, you know what, I need to make sure to keep myself alive to get as many points as possible and protect the team as well. And now, you know, we're kind of down here, We've got 3 enemy players left in the game, and I mean, they're just going to close it out, man.
Yep, it's easy VR there, the easy 2-1 split as well. Just very smart gameplay. Although you might have an insane carry partner with a lot of potential, you also need 2 people to back them up, hold their own, and put down pressure on the rest of the server while the whole trio operates. Thank you so much, guys. This has been Zeke and Shayo breaking down one of the most highest elim action-packed split trio games of the FNCS. Excited to see what this trio and others in the region will be going on with forward in these coming weeks. We'll see you guys on the battle bus.
That was a clutch game. Congratulations again to the trio for their massive 17 elimination victory royale. And thanks to ShyOwager for hanging out and doing the VOD review. Till next time, Fortnite fam, we'll see you guys on the battle bus.